It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Bethany College head women's basketball coach, Coach Michaela Lopez. How are you doing today?
Good, excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's basketball?
I will honestly give a lot of credit to my mentor throughout my college playing career. She really impacted me a lot on and off the court, and we still have a great relationship to this day. And so because of that relationship that we built, I kind of wanted to pay it forward and do the same thing. I also have a very competitive fire. So that was really why I kind of had to be at the college level, because I wanted to be able to control who my team is and what girls I'm bringing in, and really try to kind of compete at the highest level as well.
What was that experience like playing collegiate basketball for Augustana?
Oh, it was awesome. I honestly really wouldn't change it for the world. The one thing about Augie that's great is it's in the CCIW. And the CCIW is definitely one of the top Division III women's basketball conferences every single year. They usually have about 3 teams ranked in the top 25. So it was very competitive basketball. Outside of that, I loved the school, loved the location. It was always ranked like one of the top 7 most beautiful campuses in the nation. So it was a great overall experience. And like I said, it led me to my mentor and kind of helped me realize I wanted to be a college coach. So I wouldn't trade it for the world.
While at Augustana, what was it like getting to put on that jersey and representing them?
It was awesome. I had a pretty unique playing career. I kind of went from really not playing in the very beginning. So I kind of had to put in extra work to get to wear that jersey on game day and actually kind of step onto the court. And so I have so many memories and so many things that I've taken from as a player and now translate into me being a head coach that I definitely attribute to Augie for sure.
What were some of your college accomplishments as a player?
Oh goodness, I don't even know if I remember them. I'm pretty sure our class, my freshman class that we graduated in 2019 together, we graduated as the winningest class in history at Augustana women's basketball. So I really do think our class kind of helped change the culture and shape it and make it more competitive in the CCIW, which is awesome. And I couldn't tell you the last time I checked, but I'm pretty sure last time I checked, I'm number 1 in the record book for highest free throw percentage in a single season. So hopefully somebody beats me soon, because I definitely don't deserve that one.
Of course, coming out of college, what was that experience like getting an internship with the WNBA team, the Chicago Sky?
It was awesome. It really definitely helped shape a lot of the business mindset that I have as a head coach, because I know a lot of people think it's just about the basketball and coaching, but there's a whole nother business side to it, of course. And so that really kind of gave me some firsthand experience into seeing what goes on in the business side, as well as just getting to be around women's basketball. I was working for the Sky as an intern, really kind of right when the peak of women's basketball started getting exciting, viewership was going up. And so it was cool to witness that experience and that change, and kind of feel like I was a part of that.
Of course, what were some of the things that you learned with the Chicago Sky to then help you to make that transition to become an assistant coach for the first time?
I would say kind of getting to watch and see how the coaches interacted with players, and how coaches also interacted with other members, right? The little things like the janitors that are there on game days, or the interns like us and whatnot. So it was really cool to see all of those interactions and relationships and see how they work together, and then take bits and pieces of what you liked and what you didn't like to kind of shape and help how I build relationships with my athletes or my coworkers and other coaches around the office.
What was that experience like going to all around and becoming the assistant coach?
It was great. I had an awesome head coach who really, I would say, trusted a lot with me. Sometimes you kind of work for head coaches and you give suggestions and they will never ever take it, and you just kind of feel shot down. And so it was great because he really let me grow and develop as a coach, and let me build relationships with the girls and kind of have a lot of say. So I felt like I was in an area where it was okay to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes, which I think everybody, no matter what career you're in, no matter if you're a head coach, assistant, whatever it is, should always be learning to grow from their mistakes and kind of get better.
Of course, with your two assistant coaching positions, what were some of the things that you learned to then help you make that transition to become a head coach?
The big thing I would say is recognizing the big difference in decision making. As the assistant, everything kind of always seems happy and good, and you don't really have to worry so much about some of the fires, and you're the cool assistant that everybody likes. And so that transition from now going to the head coach of, well, they're not necessarily supposed to like you, and you are supposed to be the one that's hard on them, and dealing with all those fires. So getting to see my head coaches handle those things, and them allowing me to be a part of some of those meetings when there was conflict, or being a part of the recruiting process, really helped get me ready, as ready as you can be, to be a head coach.
What was that feeling like becoming a head coach and coming to Bethany College?
It was very, very surreal, and I almost didn't believe it at first. Right, every coach has a plan when you go into it. So I said, okay, I'm going to be here, and my goal is to be a head coach by the time I'm 30, 31. And that came a lot faster, obviously. So I'm an extremely young head coach, and so I was very, very fortunate for the Bethany administration and those who kind of helped to get me in the door here. And so sometimes it still feels bizarre, but again, I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I'm very thankful to be here.
Of course, as you talked about that, what is that experience like being extremely young as a head coach for a college program?
Some people have voiced concerns and always been like, well, what's it like to get respect from your players with being so close to them in age? And the one thing I'll say that's awesome is it's actually easier for me to build a relationship, because everything that they're going through, I just went through not that long ago, right? Whereas if you're a younger player and you have an older coach who's more experienced, the times have changed. You can't really coach the exact same way that you might have then. So I really feel like I can relate to my players and understand and empathize with them a lot more. And so I think it helps kind of build our bond better on and off the court. So again, I love it.
What was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto that Bethany court for the first time as a head coach?
I was nervous. I was very, very nervous for our first practice, because it was like, okay, this is it. It's my time. It's my time to go. Everybody's looking at me like I'm calling the shot. So I was definitely nervous. I will not hide that. For the first like 3 or 4 practices, I was anxious to talk in front of my group and whatnot. But as they kind of came out of their shell, I started to come out of my shell more, and now it's just natural all the time.
Of course, on game day, what was that feeling like the first time you step onto that court for the home game?
It's definitely a different feeling when you're a head coach and a player. I would almost say I get more nervous as a head coach than when I did as a player. So when we step out there, though, it's exciting. The second you step on the court, it's game mode. Like I'm locked in. The facial expressions change. It's a little less goofy and a little less joking, and we're more serious and focused. But it's definitely the best feeling. There's no feeling like game day.
As a head coach, what is that like building your coaching staff and your players around you?
It was awesome. I'm actually super fortunate. One of my assistants was a player I had last year. And so I always think that that's kind of a great compliment, right? The fact that she actually wanted to come back and now coach with me and be on the other side of it and experience that. So it's been funny, because there's so many times now that she's coaching with me, and she'd be like, I get why you did this. And I didn't get it as a player, but now I get it as a coach. And so it's great to see that perspective and whatnot. My other sister, or excuse me, my other assistant, Trey, it's a funny story, right? We got connected through one of my teammates. So I always talk about how it's crazy. The basketball world is so small. You've got a network and you know people, but they're awesome. We have an extremely young staff, but we have a diverse staff, which is also awesome. So we really, really can all relate to our players in different ways, and we all have our own unique relationships, which I think just again kind of helps build that better team bond overall.
So far as a head coach, what have been some of your biggest accomplishments?
Oh, I would just say overcoming adversity for something that is something with our group that we always focus on. You're always going to face adversity, whether it's not great refereeing, you might have a starter get hurt, they might be mad at me for a play call, right? You never know. So that's the biggest thing for us, is being able to respond to adversity. We say taking the first punch and getting back up and punching back. But number and statistic wise, I know this year we broke the school record for the most 3-pointers made in a game. So we had 19 as a team that game. We have a girl on our team, Lindsay Garrison, who broke her own record last year, and she made 10 3-pointers in a game this year. So those are some pretty cool accomplishments that we've had so far this year, but of course looking to add more to the list.
What has that been like, obviously setting school records as a head coach?
I don't take any of the credit. In all honesty, that's all them, right? I can come out here and I can yell at them to do plays, but if they're not bought into me and they don't want to do what I want to do, then they can go AWOL and do whatever, right? And so I'll give all of them all the credit. The fact that they're willing to buy into what our coaching staff is trying to establish, and they're coachable, and then they go out there and they have fun and they do it. So that's all the girls. That's not me.
As a head coach, what was that feeling like the first time you got your first career win as a head coach?
I'll be super honest with you. I don't think that I really appreciated the moment as much as I should have, because now that I'm in year 2, you've played more games, right? And people talk about it all the time. It's hard to win basketball games in college basketball. It really is. It's tough. And so I don't think I appreciated it at the time because I was so young. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just a win. Now that I'm grinding and I know how much harder it is, it makes me appreciate that win definitely a lot more.
What did a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your players?
Oh, typically, on game days, we tell the girls if it's we usually play our game days every Wednesday or Saturday. So on Wednesdays, if the girls are in classes, the expectation is that they come in and get game day shots. So we'll go down there and rebound for them. But it's typically kind of just reviewing our scouting report, maybe coming up with any late game situation plays that we might want to go over with the team, and just making sure we're ready, and then getting here and locked in, got the music cranked, and hopefully getting a win.
Of course, as a head coach, what was it like getting to take your team to the conference championship and into the conference tournament?
It was awesome. We haven't necessarily experienced that. Bethany hasn't as a whole a lot recently. So it was an exciting time, and it's win or go home, right? And so you really find out a lot about not only your team as a coach, but I also found out a lot about myself and how I can be better and what I can prepare them for, so that the next time we are in that tournament, we're getting wins and we're taking home the championship with us instead of falling a little bit short.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built as a head coach for the program?
Yeah, we're definitely still shaping it. I'll be the first one to own it. It hasn't been 100% solidified yet. And so that's part of getting current girls to buy in and then new recruits to buy in as well. So the one thing that we as a coaching staff really try to pride ourselves on and try to get our girls to understand is that it's a player-led program. We want you guys to hold each other accountable, not us hold each other accountable. So some of the most successful programs, you can go talk to Gino and Don and whatnot, and they're going to tell you it's the players who call each other out and say, hey, that's not how we do things here, that make it more successful, rather than me always doing it, because by the end of practice, they're going to be sick of hearing my voice anyways. So we really try to create the culture that it's player led and they have ownership of the program. And then of course we're big on the student athletes, your student before your athlete. So basketball is a privilege. Our girls know that it's not a right. And so if they don't take care of what they need to off the court, then the court will be the first thing taken away from them, which is great because we've got a great group with that. Last year we had the highest team GPA across all of our 20 varsity sports. So they've really bought into that aspect, which is awesome.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
So we play Washington and Jefferson, Chatham. Those are two of the top teams kind of in our conference right now. St. Vincent is the defending PAC champ, so we'll play them. Everybody in our conference, we play twice, so we get to play everybody once, home and away. This week on Saturday, we have Grove City at their place, and then we'll finish out with Westminster and Teal. So everybody's pretty local. We're actually the only D3 in West Virginia, so everybody that we play is either in Ohio or PA, which is kind of cool. So we take pride in being the only D3 in West Virginia.
Of course, what is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Washington and Jefferson come to your home area?
Yeah, it's great. It's a fun environment. We have a little bit of a smaller gym, but again, I wouldn't trade it because it's so small. It gets packed, and so it's really, really loud. There's like actually times where I'm yelling at my girls and they can't hear at me, and it makes me mad. But we actually played W&J, Washington and Jefferson this past Saturday. And we actually hosted it as a sexual assault awareness game. And so W&J had the shirts on, the boys had the shirts on, and all of our crowd had it, and the school really got behind it. And it was a loud environment. It was fun. It was really cool. So we get a lot of support from the Bethany community, which is awesome. Majority of our student body is student athletes. So everybody you're interacting with, your friends that you meet, are athletes. And so we go support them just as much as they come and support us.
What is that atmosphere like going away and playing those teams in your conferences away?
Some gyms are hard. I don't know what it is. There's just some gyms, no matter who the team is, that you're like, God, it's just hard to win there. It's hard to play there. But to be honest, last year and this year so far, our team's been better on the road than we have been at home. That drives me crazy as a head coach. Don't get me crazy, or don't get me wrong. But they really buy into it. And thankfully, none of our drives are really more than 2 hours. So we get in the vans, we bump music the whole way. We try to have some high energy and then get there and take care of business.
Of course, as a head coach, what is that like, obviously having a short distance, whereas only 2 hours versus having a plane ride?
I have no experience with traveling for a plane ride, so I guess I'm not quite sure what it would be like. I'm sure going to the airport and getting on the plane and all that is a more fun experience. Our team actually went to California this year over Thanksgiving for a tournament, and so it was some of our girls' first time ever even being on a plane, let alone ever being to California. And as a head coach, it was a lot of planning. It was very hectic. So I think I would prefer taking the vans and the short drives, unless for some reason I got a director of operations who could plan all the plane rides for us.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college women's basketball?
Yeah, the one thing I would say is you have to put yourself out there and you have to network, right? There's obviously some girls that are skilled enough, they're going to be able to just go play on an AAU team and coaches are going to find you. But for some of us, I'm the perfect example. I'm 5'3", 100 pounds soaking wet, so I don't look like your typical basketball player. And so for those that maybe have a little bit more adversity in their career, you definitely got to put yourself out there, get highlights, send it out to coaches. It won't be the first time and it won't be the last time if they don't reply, but you got to put yourself out there. And then, playing as much AAU and reaching out in your high school season to coaches is going to be the best thing.
As a head coach, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes when out on the road recruiting them?
It's twofold for sure, right? You look at them as players and what can you bring to my team? Do you fit our scheme? So we are very much a 3-and-D team, right? We get up, we press the whole game, and my 1 through 5 has to be able to shoot the 3 ball. So you look at those things. Well, can you shoot the 3? Are you quick? Are you athletic? Do you fit my scheme? And then you look at the other things like body language, right? Okay, so you just had this turnover. Your coach just ripped your butt. How are you going to handle it? Are you a good teammate? Do you stand up and high five your teammates when they come off? Is your dad yelling at you from the sideline? Is dad yelling at the coach? Because a lot of times, and I think a lot of parents in this day and age don't recognize, right? When I'm recruiting your kid, I'm also recruiting you. And we say that in our spiel. When I recruit you, your family becomes a part of our family. So as much as I'm recruiting the kid, I'm also recruiting mom, dad, the brother, and the sister. And if you're a headache, I don't know if your kid is going to be worth it. So you look at all of those other outside factors as well as what they do on the court as well.
What does the official visit look like at Bethany College?
Yeah, they come up, they'll meet us at the gym. We kind of tour them around the whole gym. They can see the weight room facility, go into the gym, see what it's like to kind of be in there on a game day for a little bit. We'll introduce them to our training staff. We show them to the smoothie bar we have on campus. And then we actually take them over and they meet with our admissions team. So our admissions team does a great job of sitting down with the parents, talking about the financial side of it, what credits might transfer, FAFSA, all those kind of good things. And then they tour them around campus. So you get to see the whole thing. And then we always have the recruit meet with our team for lunch. So that's one thing about our girls are great. They always show up. I never have to beg them. So usually the recruit sits with about 10 of our girls and they have lunch, and then we'll bring them back here and we kind of give them their own little media day, put them in a uniform, really let them get what that vibe kind of feels like. They'll meet with a professor to talk about the academic side and any questions they might have there, and then come up to the office and wrap up with coaches and kind of get a feel for how they think it went and whatnot from there.
As a coach, what is it like seeing your recruits fall in love with the campus and committing?
It's exciting. It really, really is. It's cool because I'm a firm believer, right? I don't offer student athletes unless you come on campus, right? That's how I gauge your interest. If you can't even come on campus, you're probably not that interested in the first place. So it's always cool to see recruits come up because every single time, I'm not exaggerating, they see our campus, they are always pleasantly surprised. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's bigger than I thought. It's so much more history than I thought, right? Greenery, nature, all those good things. So it's fun to see the reactions and realize that the perceptions of what other people tell you or what's on the website maybe isn't always necessarily what happens in person. So it's cool. And then when they make that decision that they want to be a part of our family, it's awesome, right? Because you won somebody over. You convinced them that they should join your family, and that's always a good feeling.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that Bethany College green jersey for the first time?
It's exciting. I know they're nervous because I was like that as a freshman, right? Your first time you get in and the game is faster, everybody's stronger, everybody's a little bit bigger, right? And so it's exciting for the ones that really dive in and buy into the culture. We actually have a freshman who so far has started every single game for us. And she's the first person after every single practice to come up to me like, hey, coach, can we watch film? Let's clip up film. So it's really exciting to see the freshmen that buy in so early because, man, it's going to be cool to see what they're like by the time they're seniors.
Of course, what is that like seeing those freshmen achieve those milestones, those first career points, those first assists, and stuff like that?
Oh, it's awesome. There's no better energy in the gym than when like a freshman gets in and she makes her first three because the bench goes crazy, right? Like everybody's so excited for everybody else's success. And so it's cool to see our team feed off of each other. And their faces light up, right? They're like, oh my gosh. And then from there, it just starts rolling because the confidence has happened. You hit the first shot, so you're good to go. But it's great. We have a great group of girls who, like I said, get really excited for each other. And that's a feeling that's awesome as a coach to see.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those seniors put on that Bethany College jersey for the last time?
It's bittersweet, right? Like it's super sentimental. You build relationships with these girls on and off the court and develop them and kind of help get them ready for that next step. So it's super sentimental because you know that Bethany will always be a part of them. And now they're also getting ready to go on and kind of become big girls, right? Big women going into the big girl world. So it's definitely bittersweet, but it's always an exciting time.
What is it like getting to see those players going and playing professional basketball, whether it's in the WNBA or Athletes Unlimited or overseas?
Yeah, it's a cool experience. I actually have a couple of players that I coached at Aurora who are now playing overseas, and a couple of my friends that played overseas as well. And so it's fun to hear their stories and see how it pans out. And they have very different experiences, right? Simple things in the rules that are different overseas, and so you find good jokes in that and how they adjust to it. But it's always cool to see, especially when you have a girl who tells me, hey, as a freshman coach, this is what I want to do. Okay, let me know that and we'll do whatever it takes to get you there and build that for 4 years. And then to really see their dreams finally kind of come true and they get to go do that for fun is always rewarding.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing your players going into coaching like you have?
It feels impactful, right? Like it almost is meaningful, like, okay, I am doing this for a bigger reason, right? Sometimes I'm sure any coach would talk about it. You feel like your locker room hates you, things aren't going well. Why am I coaching? Nobody listens to me. So it's very cool to see people who want to get into this field and maybe feel like, and I'm not saying it's always me, another coach could have impacted them and made them want to get into that. But I love to see women want to be in women's basketball, want to continue to help grow the sport, and want to continue to help other women, empower other women. So it's very meaningful and impactful for sure.
What are some of your future plans with Bethany College for the women's basketball program moving forward?
Just to continue to get better every year, raise our standards every single year to where we're at a point where we are always competing for championships. We want to get to the point where people are scared to play us, right? Oh, Bethany walked in the gym, man, we know what we're getting ourselves into, kind of a thing. So definitely build this program up. I'm a huge diehard Duke fan. I'm a diehard Coach K fan. So I think seeing what he was able to do with how long he stayed and built that program up would be something I would love to do at Bethany and get to the point where, like I said, we're competing for championships, we're playing for the national level and get us to that level.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college women's basketball?
The one thing I would say is definitely be ready to manage your time. It's very hard as a freshman to come in and go from mom and dad reminding you to do your homework or going to the gym or what you should eat, right? You come in as a freshman and it's kind of like, oh my God, I'm free. I can do whatever I want. Nobody's here managing me. So sometimes freshmen can get very caught up in that and it makes you lose focus of why you're actually at the school, right? So making sure you manage your time, making sure you're going to class and all of those things. And then, of course, that basketball is the priority. Not saying don't go have a good time and meet new people, but you came for basketball. So basketball in the classroom have to be the priority first and foremost. And sometimes that transition is a hard adjustment for freshmen.
What advice would you give those seniors looking to play professional basketball after college, whether it's in the WNBA or overseas?
The biggest thing I think is making connections. Even in a coaching realm as players, no matter what, being able to network and make connections is going to be the best thing you can do. There's a bunch of different showcases out there and tryouts and things that you can do to go play on some overseas teams. But the best thing you can do, just like freshmen trying to get to college, is you got to introduce yourself to coaches. You got to put yourself out there and really try to network and create those relationships to build that mend and get you overseas or get you to wherever your goal is.
What advice would you give those college basketball players looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
Same thing. In all honesty, you have to be able to network and connect with other people. The odds that somebody hires you just based off of you applying to a job randomly and they don't know you are very, very slim. And I can attest to that, right? I'm at Bethany College because of my mentors here. And so that's how I got my foot in the door and whatnot. So it's going to be all about putting yourself out there and not being afraid to take any step, right? I started as a high school coach. I helped with an assistant. So being passionate about what you can do, being the best assistant coach, whatever it is at any level, will always take you places. So you're going to have to take jobs you don't like. You're going to have to take jobs where maybe it's not in a great location or you don't make a lot of money. But if it's what you want to do, it's part of the grind and you just kind of got to stick on your journey until you get to where you want to be.
What advice would you give those future head coaches out there looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
My biggest piece of advice would be you. And I'm still trying to take my own advice, right? Sometimes when you're running a program and as a young head coach, and especially a player-led program like we're trying to do, you get a lot of feedback, criticism, input from a bunch of different people. And sometimes it can change the way you want to coach, right? So be you, like follow your gut, stick to your decisions. It's your program. But at the end of the day, you also have to be willing to fall on the sword when you do make mistakes and admit that and take ownership for it and then learn from them, just like you expect your players to do as well.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find Bethany College women's basketball program at on social media along with you at?
Yep, we're at BC Women's Basketball. So BCWBB is our Instagram and our Twitter name, I believe. So yeah, go ahead, give us a follow along in the season and see how we do.
Of course, where can my listeners find you or social media at too?
I am at Coach Lopez, I think with 3 Z's for my Twitter page. My name on there is Michaela Renee, I think, other than that.
Thank you again, Coach Michaela Lopez, for your interview and best luck in your future with Bethany College as the head women's basketball coach.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon. You can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Michaela Lopez, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.